Let's get her going here on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. It is the Leaf Hour edition of our program. Nick Kypreos, Sammy McKee, Jake the Snake Schultz, Derek Brandeo, and soon to be busting through those doors, Justin Bourne. Who, if you by chance were listening to our traffic report, Sammy, prior to us coming on the air, you would have learned the DVP is closed.
Yeah, our great friend and colleague Carrie Prunskis told us that.
From the
yep, there you go. You just heard her voice.
traffic alert, the southbound DVP is closed from Don Mills to Bayview Bloor.
So,
Who got DVP'd?
yeah, our boy Bourne got DVP'd. Listen, we love this city. It's a wonderful city, but at any
Listen, I'm wrong a lot.
at any moment, Kyper,
Yes.
your whole day can be ruined at the drop of a hat. It said that it's closed all the way, one way, and it's one lane coming north, closed, totally going south for a police investigation. So if you're listening to this right now, you probably got lots of time in your car because you're not going anywhere. So settle in, baby.
Do we know what happened?
No, I don't think we know what happened. I'm not sure what happened, but I've been texting with Bourne. Bourne said that his ETA has gone up, gone down. He's been grinding to get here. So he'll be here as soon as humanly possible, I'm sure.
In the meantime, a friendly reminder, we are live on Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet 590, The Fan in Toronto, and streaming always on Sportsnet Plus. And if you can't catch us live, Justin, if you're out there listening, you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
There's no way
and
he's
YouTube.
listening. There's no way he's listening.
If he misses the show, he should at least watch it later on tonight.
No way.
No?
No shot. No shot.
All right. Well, it's game day,
Yeah.
which is good news.
Depends what your perspective is. But yeah, it's another chance to end the losing streak. Keep it from going to 6, Kyper. But I think the biggest news is the general manager speaking to the media today.
In about half an hour, we'll also welcome Jeremy Rutherford, who covers the St. Louis Blues and writer for The Athletic. He'll join us and give us an update on the second struggling team that we'll watch tonight besides the Toronto Maple Leafs, the St. Louis Blues, nowhere near where we thought they'd be. At least I got the Florida Panthers right out of the gate out of September to win the Stanley Cup. I'm not getting this one right, I don't think, with the St. Louis Blues. I thought for sure, Sammy, that what I witnessed in the playoffs and how hard they pushed Winnipeg, that they were going to able to reset and get themselves back in contention, but that hasn't been the case. But we'll talk to Jeremy in a little over 30 minutes. And then, of course, on Tuesday, Steve Valiquette, analyst with the New York Rangers on MSG, CEO ClearSight Analytics, will come in and give us a wonderful perspective, as he always does on Tuesdays.
Yeah, it's a battle at Scotiabank Arena tonight of the 30th best team in the league by points percentage and the 28th best team in the league by points percentage. The Leafs being 28th, Blues being 30th, Kip.
So the big story of today was General Manager Brad Treliving addressing the media.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this was something scheduled. Some people have suggested, well, it's the quarter mark and maybe a State of the Union address is kind of a standard thing for him. I don't recall. I don't think we had one last year. Did we?
I remember Treliving being much more willing to come out and talk to the media throughout the year here and there. But I'm not, we've talked about this team so much, Kipper. I can't remember exactly if he did one this time last year. But I think he's much more willing to come out and speak. But this one felt different, wouldn't you say?
Yes. No question. Based on this recent losing streak and the fact that we're ever so close to the American Thanksgiving mark, where many analytics suggest that the Leafs' chances of now making the playoffs well below 50%. I think some of them, Sammy, have them under 20%.
We are now 10 days away, or I guess nine days away. 27th is the Thursday is American Thanksgiving. And I forget what the actual percentage is, but it's a huge number. If you're in by that time, then you're looking pretty good for a playoff spot. Leafs are now tied with the Buffalo Sabres for last place in the Eastern Conference. So they have some work to do. I know there's, there are a couple wins out of second or whatever. There's a lot of jumbled up teams in the Eastern Conference, but they got to start considering getting some wins here to get themselves back in that picture because it's starting to look a little bit grim.
As mentioned, the big story today, General Manager Brad Treliving addressing the media on the Leafs' poor start to the season. You want to start with his opening statement?
Yeah, let's just go from there, and then we'll move throughout it.
I'd open it by saying, obviously, as we sit here today, we're not where we want to be or where we envision to be. Obviously, we've underperformed to this point, and I take full responsibility. I'm in charge of the hockey department. I've put the people in place on the ice, off the ice, so the responsibility lies with myself. And we start today and every day trying to get ourselves back up and going and improve where we are. There's lots of areas that we need to improve upon, and my job is working with Craig and the coaching staff and our players to get us back going and playing to a level that I believe we're capable of playing.
So that's his opening remark.
Yeah.
Do you think it is his responsibility? Ultimately, like, do you think he's the one that should come out and say that, like, it's, basically saying it's my fault?
Without a question.
Okay.
Yeah, without a question. So it is, though, obvious that he is the architect, right? He mentioned it. He's responsible for the players on the ice. So it is stating the obvious. Now, I said the other day that it's probably a good idea to hold yourself accountable, right? And that's one reason why he would go on the air.
Oh.
All right. Let's welcome in DVP Bourne. You all right?
I'm good.
Did anybody flick you the bird?
Honestly, I wasn't even looking in the rear view, but very likely, yes. I would say from lower to broad view, I probably got 32 of those.
Okay.
So,
But according to my wife, you're about 32 behind my league-leading 60-plus birds people have flicked me.
not my usual pattern of driving. I apologize to you guys.
Don't
and
apologize.
everyone
Don't
That's okay.
apologize. It probably gave you a good chance to, catch up on some emails or text messages.
I listened to all the Brad Treliving audio that existed.
Yes.
it.
And don't text or email while driving.
That's right.
All right. We just started with Brad's opening statement. You've heard it. You've listened to it. You want to start off by giving us your thoughts on the accountability of it. Now, I was just telling Sammy a little bit that, the other day I said it's maybe not a bad idea just to come out, but it's such a double-edged sword because for me now it's you hear everybody like, okay, Rome's burning, they're horrible. Where's Brad Treliving, right? So on one side, I get he wants to come out and show everybody I'm not hiding, I'm responsible, this is my team. He said all of that, but is that enough?
Well,
Does it help?
I imagine in my mind that the PR team going into this year has on the schedule for the year at 20 games, 40 games, 60 games, the GM's going to talk. Like this to me just feels like a scheduled, it's that time of year, time to get out there and just assess the situation. The timing is unfortunate that they've lost 5 in a row. So you go out there and really you're doing triage, trying to put out fires and paper over everything. I guess my takeaway from today, Kip, was that what's different? What's different? What did any opinion of yours change?
That's what I got out of it today, and I kind of switched a little bit on. Yeah, it was probably a good idea to now after listening to him, I asked myself, what was to gain out of it?
Right. Like, what's the plan? Like, we're all sitting here every day going, okay, this is a problem, this is a problem. What are they going to do about it? Oh, good, the GM's speaking tomorrow. And I'm sitting here today going, I kind of feel like I felt yesterday. Nothing's changed. They're just going to keep throwing the same team out and hoping it wins.
So I think that's once you get past it, okay, Brad, it's your responsibility, and it's great that you said it, but nobody got in anything out of, well, how are you going to fix this, or what's your next move, or like nobody got anything out of it. So really, what you really ended up getting is a reaction to the noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, and just hiding, not even hiding, but like you got a lot of, you know, the safety sort of, if we can make our team better, we'll make our team better. It's
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously. You
Okay,
know?
let's pick up on clip 2 with what needs to be improved.
Our record is indicative of how we've played. Sometimes you have a record. You look at each game. And obviously the results we're in the results business. But there's nights that you play well and lose. There's nights that you just score more than the opponent, right? But you haven't played well. I think far too often we haven't, even in games that we've won, we haven't won the game. Sometimes we've scored more goals. So I look at it really in a couple of areas in particular. We just got to play a more connected game, starting defensively. We've given up too much. And that's on our whole group, from our goaltending right through our whole group. We've given up too much defensively. That was not that wasn't this team last year, right? So we've given up too much defensively. We're not playing connected. And when I talk about connected, it's on both sides of the puck, right? Generating offense. We've scored goals, but to me, we haven't done the things that you need to do to generate offense on a regular basis. Conversely, we haven't done the things that you need to do collectively as a group to prevent the other team from scoring. So number one, it's getting back to being a connected group. I think the inconsistency of effort in some cases, and there's a lot of nights I don't question the effort, but there's been some inconsistencies there. And then the enthusiasm of our group. I think when you go through a difficult time, it's easy to, everybody that you feel a little bit tight. We need to get that enthusiasm back in our group.
Wow.
Ooh,
I just wish he would have started with and ended with like his concern over effort and the enthusiasm not being there. Like that to me is the biggest red flag I got out of today is where is the enthusiasm? Where is I'm coming to the rink every day. I get to live my dream. I get paid for this. People want my autograph.
Bring me Seth Jarvis.
Mitch Marner
That
were
energy.
treated like gods. And you can't come to the rink with enthusiasm?
Did you guys already play the vanilla clip?
No,
where he
not
says,
yet.
No.
Does that relate to this somewhat? I'm sure we have it.
Like,
It's go ahead.
You put together a team where you're claiming that you have unenthusiastic players. It's like, come on.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Is
that's
that what we're down to now? Come to the please try harder and look happy, look cheerful, look
please clap.
like you want to be here.
Yeah.
Too much vanilla.
Yeah. Should we listen to that clip? Because I think
Yeah.
it's related.
Where is it?
Clip 9, please.
I think there's been too much vanilla with our team. And that's a big part of what you try to establish your team is what it's going to look like on a nightly basis, right? When you're going well, you have a really good indication. There's going to be good nights and bad nights, but you have a pretty good idea how it's going to look like from night to night. A large part of the frustration is you don't know how it's going to look like, right? It's been in spurts, it's been in periods, it's been within periods. I think you can count on one hand how many full, complete games we've had. So that's a big part of it, is going back to how do we want to look like and trying to get to look like that on a more consistent basis.
Has Vanilla gone to Rocky Road?
I complained about that on Twitter. What's wrong with
Oh.
Vanilla? Vanilla's taking a beating.
Yeah, you more like Tiger Tail.
It's been ugly. Honestly, I think a lot of the things he said there he came out and endorsed his coach, but a lot of them are an indictment of the coach. where he's like, I don't know how it's going to look for night from night to night. I don't know how it's supposed to look when we win, is basically what he said. Like, what is it? What's a good looking night for this version of the Toronto Maple Leafs? He's not sure. The connectedness hasn't been there. The effort's not always there. The enthusiasm's not always there. But we're really happy with, the way it's going, sort of thing, or with the coaching.
Can we play 2 clips back to back here that are alluding to that? Derek, can we start with the Treliving clip 4 on Berube's messaging?
I believe fully in Craig and his messaging. When I talk to the players too, they believe in it, but there is that disconnect that we're not doing it. It comes back to the inconsistency. So it's always the big question in sport, right? Why don't you just go do it? That's what we have to work through. So I'd love to be able to say it's this. You have to keep hammering home the message. You have to keep working with these guys on a daily basis for them to grasp it. And that's the challenge in front of us.
So he said there was like the disconnect or whatever. Can you play the 4th Berube clip from today, Derek, where he was asked about that same thing?
Brad says he believes in your messaging, but he said there seems to be a disconnect with the players.
What's that?
He says he believes in the messaging. Brad Treliving
Oh.
says he believes in your messaging, but he thinks there's a disconnect with the players. Why do you think that is?
I don't think there is a disconnect, but I mean, I can't really answer that question.
We do not agree.
He's got a cold today, huh?
Yeah, he's tired.
He's grumpy.
Borny's right.
That's a little strange.
Borny's right. Every single thing that he laid out that's pissing him off so far to start this year is effort, connectivity, messaging,
Which
Enthusiasm.
we've
enthusiasm.
said all season long so far.
Yes.
We've talked about the gap, the space between forwards and D, and that's exactly what he's talking about.
Well, and the space between this direct line of play that we hear they're supposed to be playing and the way that I think they want to play or have played in the past.
So is he laying the groundwork here?
I don't know. Rosie had a good question. Rosie DeMano asked,
What's the difference?
What's the difference? Because
Yeah.
she said it's the same messaging, the same plan. And last year, it seems like it was executed. Why isn't it being executed this year? Is that
we have that clip 5? The answer to that question. Answer that very question, Derek. Clip
That's what keeps me up at night. I would say that just because you did it last year or last week doesn't make it that you're just going to do it. You got to dig in. You have to do it, right? If I look at one of the things I talked about just earlier was, how we played last year. We'd give up zone time and we'd give up, it just sort of talking a little bit technical, we'd give up zone time, we'd give maybe some shots. What we didn't give up was a lot of stuff inside, right? Like we kept things away from our net. The prime opportunities, we didn't. To me, it's just a commitment to doing the work, right? That's really what it comes down to is the plan is not a different plan. You have to, just because you did it, like I said, last year, you have to commit to the work. And to me, that's a big part of it is, the style that we want to play is a hard style, but unless you commit to the work, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. And that's where I see a little bit of the fall off is doing it together, you doing your job so that I can do my job, and then committing to the hard parts of the game. And that's where we've fallen off right now.
I will say some of this also reflects back on the team captain, right? The trying to get these guys to do it the same way, to do it every night, to encourage the effort and enthusiasm, the joy of being at the rink. That's part of it too.
There's been nobody more vanilla this year than Austin Matthews.
No.
And I am okay, talk about his 40 goal pace being like empty calories. That's
Totally.
what I call them.
No, totally.
Okay.
Right.
It's like there's nothing of substance outside of him shooting it in a net.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, you need so much more to set a tone or carry a bit of a strut, have some mojo. He had more mojo in his first game of his career against Ottawa than anything we've seen this year.
In fairness, that was pretty max mojo.
That was pretty sick.
It's tough to replicate. But yeah,
It's
I
not the
get you.
goals.
I know.
It's the way he carried himself.
Yeah.
And the feeling that every shift you noticed an 18-year-old phenom.
Yeah, it's like Schaefer in
And now
Long
he's
Island, right? It's
in the
that,
height
like-
of his career, 10 years later, prime everything, and you get vanilla.
If all you do is shoot it in the net a lot, that's very good, and people like that. But then you're Deluxe Robertson. That's, you're kind of hoping for more than that.
It came up on my, I don't know where I saw it, one of the social medias I spend all day on, but I saw a video. It's like a sentimental video of like the start of this era.
Oh, boy.
And I was like watching videos of Matthews, like when he was young. I was like, oh my God, it's a different guy. Like the enthusiasm that he was playing with, like to use Treliving's word, the enthusiasm, the speed, it's not the same. And guess what? Nobody's the same guy at 28 as they are at 18. You're supposed to be better, I guess, but I don't know. It's just vanilla.
You're supposed to be more of the intangibles. You're supposed to be more dependable, defensive, heavy, strong, smart. You're not supposed to be as quick and dynamic, maybe.
Yeah,
but you're
sure.
supposed to, like, the way that Crosby got his 90 points last year was not how he got his 90 points 10 years ago,
Correct.
but he still got the 90 points. So, that evolution hasn't happened for him. And, yeah, it's tailed off. And we know injuries are a part of this, and there's no doubt that that's relevant. Last year in particular, this year we don't know. Sounds like he'll be back Saturday night. Did you guys get that impression too?
Okay, let's go to Brad Treliving on Matthews. Clip 12.
He's coming along, Chris. He skated this morning. Again, we've listed him as day-to-day. Obviously not going to play tonight. I would suspect Thursday is probably not a possibility. Probably after Thursday, at least we get a little bit better sense of how things are responding. I don't anticipate too long, but probably Tuesday and Thursday are out of the question at this point.
But Sam, they don't know. Like,
Day
they
to
don't
day.
know with some of this stuff.
Day to day.
I don't think
Did
he
he-
knows the date and he's not telling you.
Did he also on that clip comment about the privacy or the secrecy around him
No, it was on the Tanev clip,
on the Tanev
but
clip?
he was basically just like,
McKee's a
you know,
goon.
we know how pissed off people get about us being a little gray with the injury stuff.
Yeah,
He mentioned it.
yeah.
He called McKee. a
Yeah, basically he's
complete
like that
fool.
idiot that gets to talk from 4 to 5 every day on Sportsnet. Is the
There's one
guy that needs
out
to
there and he's
shut
like,
up.
clam up.
Sam's not the only one.
No.
Yeah,
He's not the only one.
maybe the only one with a platform.
Let's listen to it.
Yeah, sure. Clip 11 on Tanev.
Mark, I and it's not to be cute. I don't have timelines on a lot of the guys. Like we're and I know we sometimes get criticized of saying we're being gray with return dates. Probably know a little bit more in the next week or so. And Chris, in terms of clarifying a little bit more of a clear return date, we miss Chris. At the end of the day, the reality is it's hard to replace top people, right? Now it comes back to what I said earlier. Is everybody goes through injuries. I'm not going to sit up here and make any excuses. We've got other people that need to step in and fill those roles. But the reality is when you miss top people, those are big shoes to fill. So we miss Chris, but it's an opportunity for somebody else to dig in.
It shocks myself that I'm about to say this,
Yeah, say
but have we under-discussed the Mitch Marner absence this year? Shocks me that we haven't discussed it more. But Michael Tracos wrote an article today about how it's tough to replace top players.
So, there has been a narrative that it hasn't really changed all that much, right?
What hasn't changed?
Just the team, or it shouldn't have been that much of a swing. But I'm starting to think, man, it was too big of a swing. And okay, let's sit Mitch out to the sidelines for a second. You only can dress 12 forwards.
Mm-hmm.
You brought in a completely new third line, a complete line. Like, that's changing 25% of your forwards.
Yeah, well, before
It's a
Cowan,
big deal.
before
It's a big deal.
yeah,
Okay, it's just not a little thing.
Mhm.
So you had Mitch Marner money. Okay, everybody sat there and said, "Okay, don't worry about it. It's 100 points. We'll pick it up. Chelly will get this many points. This guy will get this, and this guy will get this, and you'll close it in, and you got depth." And it just didn't happen. At least for the first 20 games, it just didn't happen.
And it would be curious to know if it could have happened if the third line were effective, but they didn't, as of yet, haven't. It's not an effective third line. So you took the Marner money, said we're going to have good third line depth now, and you still don't.
And
now you just don't have Mitch Marner.
And now you don't have Mitch Marner. Forget about even how good defensively he was, but you gotta it changed 25%. It's
more, Kip, because Cowan's another piece, so now you're 4 of 12.
So
you're
just it's too much. It may have just been too much for the team to go from this contending Atlantic Division team to now scraping to get into a playoff position.
How many I guess there's a stat in baseball called WAR, which is wins above replacement. Like, if they had Mitch Marner in the lineup, how many more games would they have won?
They've been a lot of one-goal games.
So you think they're,
I've
2
no
or
doubt
3
in my
games
mind.
better?
Yeah.
They're getting a point or possibly
Chicago, for
2
sure.
in Chicago with Mitch Marner. Okay. And no one can really transport the puck like that guy. You didn't replace that. Willie is the closest thing you have to doing it. And
but you had it on 2 lines before. Right?
Well, you had it with Mitch.
Yeah.
Right? And then you think you had it with Willie a little bit?
I do. I think Willie's good at it.
Yeah. And now
But
you
certainly
barely
not as
have
good as Mitch.
John can't do it.
No.
John's strength, as we know, is 6 feet around the blue paint. He's great, but he ain't great in a lot of other places 180 feet
Yeah, that's not
away.
ever
it's
been
not his thing. Matthews,
Early in his career, Matthews could skate that thing through the
it's
neutral
not
zone.
happening.
It's not.
He doesn't. He's not he's not a guy that can control the neutral zone.
Yeah.
Now you have nobody.
Yeah. Very few puck transporters.
So let's go to Treliving on the new guys on the team. Clip 7.
Well, the new guys, I think they would tell you, and I'm not here to start singling out people, but I think there's a different level that they can get to, right? If you would have said at the beginning of the year and pick out a large majority of our roster, right? If we were sitting here in September and said, okay, we get to the 20-game mark, this is what my game should look like, I think probably all of them would say it's under where the expectation is, or our expectation, or their expectation is. So they need to be better. We've got to help them give them a path to be better. We've got to continue to work with them to be better. But certainly the expectation is they can and will be better.
See, I look
They
at
can and they will?
I look at the new guys, and I question how connected they are with the rest of the team, and
New Team B is the new guys?
Wow.
and how
Billy had a dinner in
enthusiastic they
Chicago,
are,
So
right? And their enthusiasm. I don't get enough of them right now.
Yeah, I also hate the idea of lumping them together. Like, those are 3 individual men who, got new contracts and went to a new team, and like everyone's talking about them like them. They're very different players. And the results have been very different to me. But I do think it's time to give them some opportunity. Like Dakota Joshua playing on the 4th line when you're down 4 injured forwards or something is probably not great. And like Nick Wall played his first game where he got some minutes,
and then is now out for multiple games.
right. And you started with Matthias Michelli on the top line, which is always been a recipe for failure in Toronto.
Yeah.
Is to thrust the new guy into the top line spot and say, make this work. I don't know. There's no doubt that group was supposed to be something for the team and is currently on pace for, I mean, does any of them have 2 goals? I think Joshua does.
Can I ask, like, what do you think? Can a general manager coming out and saying all the stuff he said in this market and, like, kind of putting it on the players, putting it on the coaching staff, like, can that wake them up? Like, can that be like an inspirational thing, being like hearing our general manager go out there and be like, they're vanilla, they're not listening?
You mean the new guys?
No, just the whole team in general. Like, can that be a wake-up call? Like, did he do it before the Blues to make it look like he kicked them in the pants?
I think
like,
he's
what
been
is
trying.
it?
I think he's been trying for weeks. Like, how
Treliving
many?
has been?
No, I'm talking about Berube.
Oh, I'm talking about Treliving. Treliving just going out and doing a media conference and saying all these things about his team. Like, is that going to wake him up? Is that the recipe? Maybe they just suck.
Like I said earlier, I don't really know what today gained for him other than new sound bites. So we're off DNA now,
Vanilla.
and we're going to be vanilla. Like vanilla is going to be the new catchphrase. Today he created another one.
Too much vanilla.
Right?
Sheldon keeps being like, that was mine.
He's like, he stole me.
So, outside of that, you think the players watched it and go, okay, now we really got to go.
That's what I'm asking you.
I have to imagine.
I don't think it works that way.
So we heard that they had that big meeting before we did our regionals, probably Wednesday or something like that last week, where they had a meeting.
It was before the Bruins game,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
And we heard that they got like a pretty good whatever. I'm sure they've been told that if you can't figure it out, external people will be brought in to figure it out. Like that's pretty standard, I think, at the pro level. Like, doesn't have to be you guys. We can find other people for this. I have to imagine they've known their backs are against the wall for some of these guys. This is what they got.
I think when players get to a certain point and there's a level of frustration, they're looking from either Craig Berube or the coaching staff for way more than just try harder.
Yeah.
Okay?
I always was.
That's it. Like at the end of the day, so far, watching some of the sound clips from Berube at practice the other day, there needs to be more than just try harder.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. That's what they're going to have to go back and figure it out.
Can that lead to the opposite? If you're just continuously having guys scream at you, try harder?
Yeah, you get tuned out. Yeah, you get tuned out.
And that to me, listening to the press conference, listening to all the stuff he said, was him laying the groundwork for something like that.
Did we play what
I don't
he thoughts
disagree.
of Berube?
I don't.
Did we play that yet?
We did, but we should go because we're gonna do some other stuff on the other side of the break.
Did we play he's I have all the confidence in the world for now.
He said that we played the one that he was talking about the
But
belief
for
in his
now,
messaging. Yeah.
right?
Was there a for now in there?
There was a for now. I heard a for now today.
Play 15. Play clip 15, Derek. The one where.
So you mentioned patience in
Build up.
terms of like making trades or tinkering with the roster, but in terms of whether you have to consider a coaching change, like how much patience do you have there?
Yeah, I've got all the faith in our coach right now. So I don't look at that as the issue. Listen, when you go through things like this, understandably, everything gets talked about and looked about. My job right now is to support our coach, support his message, and support our group, right? And push the group.
Okay, that's not it. I heard it for now today.
I heard it right now.
Sorry?
He said right now. Pretty close.
Okay, maybe it was for now. Right now, I thought I heard it for now.
But what else? There's the classic vote of confidence. This has been a thing across sports for my whole life.
You got to give the vote first.
Anyways, we should go.
Just turning to him as the gladiator. That's the.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break. Plenty more still on the Leaf Hour edition, including Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic for a quick recap on another team that needs to get going, the St. Louis Blues. More when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. Real Kyper and Bourne, Leaf Hour edition. The Kypreos, fresh off the DVP, Justin Bourne.
Hello, I have
and
arrived.
Our very own Sammy McKee.
The Red Rocket was right on time this morning. This afternoon, bang, straight here on time.
I've taken the subway many
I
times.
take the subway every single day. Rips.
But there's on occasion it'll just drop me like 4 stops before Union Station at Scotiabank Arena.
Figure it out.
Like, you're gone. Listen, I'll never have a bad word to say about the TTC because they recovered my beloved Don.
There you
Jersey,
go.
So.
That's right.
There you go, for sure. Okay, in a couple of minutes, we'll welcome in Jeremy Rutherford, who's also covering a struggling hockey club in the St. Louis Blues. They go tonight. It is game night. All right, let's go to Jeremy Rutherford, a St. Louis Blues writer for The Athletic. Jeremy, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, Justin, Nick, how you guys doing?
We're well, thanks. Let me just start by saying, I'm not sure how much you know of the Leaf situation so far coming in or how much you've watched from afar, but this is the second team now for Craig Berube, and whether or not there's some similarities that you can see from even from afar on a veteran team, underperforming, underwhelming goaltending, or a D that's taking on water. I mean, can you draw any parallels of what Craig Berube's gone from a St. Louis situation to now a Toronto one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do pay a little extra attention to the Leafs because of Craig Berube being in St. Louis and now with the Leafs. And when he got the job, I felt like he was a guy, if there was anybody out there who would be able to come in and kind of get the players' attention in Toronto. Obviously, that hasn't been the case, especially recently. Obviously the roster's changed a little bit with Marner leaving, but he was always a guy in St. Louis who could command attention and build confidence. Those were really two of his strong suits. And, I know he seems to be a laid-back, mild-mannered guy, but he knows what he wants, and typically he can get the players to understand that. And from what I gather, watching from afar and then being in Toronto today at the rink and talking to people about the situation, it just hasn't come to fruition this year. So, I guess we all got the same questions that you guys have in terms of why that isn't happening. Some of the newer players that have come in haven't produced, and now I know there's some injuries, and then you've had the situation with Joseph Wall. So it hasn't come together, and just like in St. Louis, guys, 10 games isn't a long sample size, 15, but once you start to get to 2025 and get to American Thanksgiving, you're talking about what's going wrong here.
Well, I'm torn on talking more Blues or Berube. I guess I do want to follow up on Berube here because we are in the Leafs hour. And did anything change at the end of his time with the Blues? I know the Kyrou thing was in the media, but he is not he's not hard on his players in the media. In fact, he's goes easy on pretty much everyone. Was that true there? And did it change at all towards the end?
Yeah, it's a good question. Hopefully I can give you the best answer possible here. I remember talking to Oscar Sundqvist, who's back on the team after leaving for a little while. He's back on the Blues. And he had said that when Craig Berube came in and took over for Mike Yeo and they won the Stanley Cup that year, that Craig Berube was intimidating. And what he said, you listened to every word. And that over the years, he seemed to soften a little bit, and that they didn't look at him the same way as they did when he came in. And part of that could be that the Blues had much of the same roster for the next several years. And so I guess as players got to know him, that became less and less of a fear factor. So, I don't know the situation in Toronto, if that's happened, in the short time that he's been with the Leafs. But, I do remember Oscar Sundqvist saying that, and that was kind of the feeling. But he was just always able to keep the confidence up, build the confidence. And I think when you're losing, and that's what the Blues are going through right now, same thing with Toronto, that, he was always good at that. And so I find it difficult to believe he's having trouble in that area, as it seems to be the case.
You're listening to Jeremy Rutherford, St. Louis Blues writer for The Athletic. So if we're talking about the Blues, they're a team that I focused on at the beginning, thinking that they could contend, especially watching them in that first round push the Winnipeg Jets to a series where we still wonder how the heck they didn't win it. Where are we today with the Blues, and how close was Doug Armstrong to really changing the makeup last trade deadline and the decision to not, and where they stand today? It seems like he's right back where he was just prior to the deadline.
Yeah, just in the Blues 19 games, I think the feeling looking back to that post-Four Nations face-off run has kind of changed. It was, okay, this team's turned the corner. Jim Montgomery has their attention. Some of the players who you thought might be done have found a spark and are playing well. They had the best record in the league post-Four Nations, and like you said, nearly upset Winnipeg. But now, after the start they've gotten off to this year, you look back and think, were the issues masked because they did go on that run. And maybe that was the blip was what they did after the Four Nations, and now we're seeing the team that they were prior to the Four Nations. I think when it comes down to it, guys, when you look at the St. Louis Blues, they're one of those teams that's trying to compete and contend right now, and also go through the retool and bring in the Snuggeruds and the Dvorskys and the younger players and the prospects. They've got a number 1 first pick the past 3 or 4 years that they're excited about. But it's difficult to do that, as you guys know. And so You see aging veterans like a Braden Shen and Justin Falk on the team, and that you got 20, 21-year-olds and Dvorsky and Snuggerud that are promising guys for the future. And so that's kind of where the Blues are right now. But you felt like after what they did at the end of last year, they could keep serving both masters like they had in the past in terms of being competitive and also grooming for the future. And they just haven't been able to do that. There's been many issues, but number one has been the goaltending and the defense. They don't spend a lot of time in their defensive zone, but when they do, it's typically in the back of their net.
Well, I'll just last one for me, follow up on that goaltending thing. Everyone assumed that Jordan Binnington win the Four Nations face-off. He's going there almost regardless, but boy, is he pushing the limits of that almost. What's going on there this season?
Yeah, it really is. Well, at first it was Joel Hofer, the backup. He was the guy who was struggling the most out of the two goaltenders. But then Jordan Binnington, you have to put him in that same category. And it's hard to comprehend, because if I had a guy who I wanted to win a game, just like in the Four Nations, I think that Jordan Binnington's in that conversation. But he's got to build his case to be the Team Canada goalie for the Olympics, and he certainly hasn't done that this year. But for people who haven't watched the Blues game in and game out, it hasn't just been him. It hasn't just been the goaltending. Poor defensive play, and that includes the forwards in front of him. But certainly for those who have been watching, Jordan Binnington hasn't been himself. And, you can't always fall back on that. Well, you put him on the Olympic roster, he's going to play well and be the winner that you think he can be in those critical situations, because over the long stretch of the couple months of this season, he has not been that guy.
Binnington scheduled to start tonight?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, we'll watch that closely. Jeremy, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Anytime, guys. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, covering the St. Louis Blues.
That was a really interesting answer on Berube about
The softening over time, or
just
less
how it could be
intimidating?
intimidating at the start and having that kind of
And what?
whittle away.
Because it can wear out, and you need to play different cards for sure. And I think he's trying, but right now it just seems like he's just focusing on, like I said, like try harder, like effort. Right now he's down to effort more so than execution.
But I think he always was that coach. Like that was all. But when guys are like, "Oh man, I better," or "I'm going to get bench, scratched, traded, cut, whatever."
Let me just go back to Brad Treliving yesterday.
Today?
Today,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Today. The more I think about it, doing it on a game day, I would have waited after tonight to do it.
To see what you got.
Just on the chance that if the boys put in a good effort, everything that I said today, I say tomorrow, would have been a little bit more.
You start saying, I think it's coming, though. We saw it a bit last night.
It would have just give you a little bit of momentum.
What if you lose?
Well, then
wait till you win to do it?
No. If you lose, then you still have a chance to
A lot of the same stuff you could have said.
calm the noise down. Still, you could still have calmed the noise down. And at the end of the day, whether you needed to do it yourself or you could have leaked it to Elliot or Drager or Frank, that Berube's not going anywhere. Yeah. He's not going anywhere, right? That could have been, they're credible people with their sources. You could have leaked that. Just get it out there, boys. Chief's not going anywhere. And that could have served a purpose too. But I would have liked tonight as an opportunity to have a little bit of momentum.
I wonder, though, like all this stuff we've talked about is valid, but they really are missing their top center, their top three acquisition.
They're missing their top three
centers, if you will. Lawton, Waugh.
Matthews,
it's going to be tough to get a win at all against anyone in any circumstance when that's the case for any team.
Can I present the flip side of why you do it today? Because you come out and you say all these things, and then they galvanize with a banged up group against one of the worst teams in the league, and they win. You're like, see?
Okay.
I did it.
I mean, there's
it was all they needed was a kick from old tree.
There's many ways to look at this for sure.
Listen,
right?
I don't think they're gonna.
Maybe they don't put this much thought into it. Maybe they're just like, I don't know, it's time to talk. We talked. Whatever.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But these games are 6 games in a row, man. It's a lot of games.
Like, where's the cutoff now for you guys? in terms of like they're going to
This season.
stick to the plan and they're going to be patient and they're going to be there's no bolt of lightning trade or anything like that to come and save it. He all but admitted that. But where is the cutoff? Like,
I think
is it tonight, Thursday, and Saturday, and now you're into next week? If you're all of a sudden 8-12, is it?
I think in sports you have to react to small sample sizes, even if it's just bad luck or bad whatever, and it's going to change. I think you have to react. I remember we had a playoff series when I was with Sheldon Keefe, and we were getting killed through the neutral zone. He changed our neutral zone forecheck in game 2. Something we hadn't done all year. He changed it and ended up being the right thing. Next game, we shut him down, whatever. To me, it's like you don't have enough time left in the season to see if, they'll sort it out. We'll just go 15 more games. It's too late. Game 35 is too late. So I think pretty soon here, Kip is too late. I don't know.
Can I present you a scenario that the Toronto Maple Leafs lose to the Montreal Canadiens on Hockey Night in Canada for their 8th straight loss?
Tough to go into that one and say, well, we play Wednesday. We'll try to get them that time by trying harder.
It's getting this.
Yeah, these 3 games are massive.
You know, I was actually thinking today, is it possible in today's NHL to do like the type of trade? I think the Leafs have done it. The Islanders have done it where you trade like 7 guys. I don't mean off one team, but it's like 4 one-way, 3. Remember those old trades?
Yeah, if the money adds up.
Yeah, you're like, we just need to be different.
Well, Treliving's like, you can't just bring 15 new guys in here. Well, have we considered trying it?
You could do 15 new guys.
Yeah, like the Blues suck too. Let's just switch the bottom 6 and see what happens, boys.
Listen, the saving grace in all of this may be just like outside of a Maple Leaf bubble and just take a look at that East.
Yeah.
It is a dog's breakfast.
I sent the lines of the Boston Bruins to Justin Bourne yesterday, and I said to him, if there's one thing that gives you hope for the Toronto Maple Leafs season, this is the team that's currently in first place.
First place coming at you with Riley Tuft, Sean Corrali, and Michael Eisenmont.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, Minton, Kastelik, and Jeannot, Steves, Blumel, Zaka. You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah. Habs.
Lock it up.
Habs have lost 4 in a row. Ottawa can't get a save. It's like there's no really great teams in the Atlantic right now.
All that's done is bought you time to sort your problems out, but you got to sort your problems out.
You got to sort them out.
And because the bottom feeders
NHL
now are pushing up and the top ones are coming down, including Florida, Tampa, and Toronto. Like, I'm just guessing right now, but you could get a wild card spot at
91,
88.
Oh, that's good.
Can't you just see a Florida
87?
team getting 100% healthy for game 1 of the playoffs and just like big dogging everyone, putting their paw on everyone's head, being like, you stay down?
You know who that's going to be? That's going to be the Florida Panthers, who will get
They'll
get one of the wild card spots. Barkov will come back, and they'll just like run.
They're
through
like,
again.
and they'll draw the Bruins, and they'll be like, that's enough.
Yeah, it's time for you to
Go
lose.
home.
But, you know, like you're 2 or 3 games.
Honest to God.
If they win, if
Keep
the
that
Leafs
up,
can
please.
find a way to win tonight, Thursday and Saturday, it's completely changes the complexion.
Like,
depending on obviously what other teams do.
If I gave you $1,000 to put on one team in the Atlantic to win the East or win the Atlantic Division this year, where would you put that $1,000?
Panthers
To win the Atlantic?
Yeah.
They're
They're
not
4
getting
points back.
Yeah, but they're not
Buddy,
getting those guys.
I don't
till-
care.
I'm not. I'm
Who are
I'm
you
going
going
to the
with?
casino in Pickering and I'm putting it on red.
I just
If I had $1,000,
But
I'm not
truly,
touching any team.
you can't pick one team. Tampa,
I guess maybe
probably the Canadians. I don't know.
they can't get a save.
I have no
That's a
clue
great question.
who's the
Buddy,
favorite.
like I said,
I'll look it up for game time.
Alpo.
Alpo?
Dogs
food.
food.
Dog's breakfast.
Dog's
Okay.
breakfast.
Alpo, right?
That eastern side is Alpo right now for me.
Yeah. It's like Carolina is far and away the best team, not even sure who's second.
No. There's only one great team right now, and that's Colorado.
And boy,
Look at the
They're
goal
playing a different
differentials.
sport.
Look at the goal differentials in the East. 0, -2, -3, -1, -1, -1. We go national next. It's the National Hour on Real Kyper and Bourne. If you can't tell, Sammy changed the jersey.
All right.
2 straight days, bud.
2 straight days.
What a week we're having.
He is starting to get focused now that he's over the Jays.
Oh.
Enough Jays, man.
Kick his feet out from under him before he starts running.
We're live on Sportsnet. Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary, and streaming always on Sportsnet Plus. If you don't catch us live, find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, in for the full hour.
Yeah, doing the full one.
And our very own Sammy McKee. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Steve Valiquette. It is Tuesday, which means a little different breakdown of what we see around the National Hockey League in his own special way. Valley will join us. In the meantime, those Edmonton Oilers.
They looked good last night.
Right? Against a team that, I don't know, people expected them to win.
Yeah. Yeah, the Oilers are an interesting case right now. Like, trying to make sense of why they look the way they look.
Yeah.
Process ain't pretty.
You know,
I know why they look like it.
McDavid and Draisaitl, you can't expect them to bring it for 82 games.
They're playing the most they've ever played in their careers.
But there's nothing left after every game. They will, as they say, have pissed every last drop.
Well, I sent you guys that chart from Natural Stat Trick last night about the on-off stuff with them.
Yeah.
This year, they have 23% of the net goal share with them off the ice. They've got 9 goals for with them off the ice and 30 goals against with them off the ice at 5-on-5.
So it's been like they play and they win. They're not on the ice and
they don't win.
Calgary. Yeah. That, that's been a trend. To your point, though, it's never been this drastic.
No, like, I mean, that chart that I said had a bunch of different numbers on
years,
it.
right? Yeah.
Years. And, like, they've been low, but they haven't been near 23%. Like, it's been in the more 40 range or low 50. Anyways.
Trent Frederick fought Matthew Olivier, and then, again, since then, has just went right back to nap time.
You should try to fight a puck into the net.
You should punch it right to the back.
One.
Yeah.
Is that his only point?
Do they want, for the Leafs, do they want like Dakota Joshua in Edmonton or something? Would you take 8 years of Trent Frederick at $3.8 million?
No. I can't have that. Can't have almost $4 million.
I don't think he's
and
this, though. He's not this.
Production.
In 21
I've seen
games,
him
he
be a good player.
In 21 games, he has 1 goal, and he's a -8.
I've seen him be good.
I just don't understand how you can make a trade for a pending free agent and then feel like to justify it, you have to give him 8 years. I just don't understand that.
I guess, so he was a pending UFA?
Yes.
Like, what would someone would have given him 7 as a free agent out there?
Even if they did, I'll bet you almost anything that teams would have given him the same, but stopped it at 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, to go 8, to me, on a depth guy, anywhere from 7 to 12 in your lineup, to get 8 years is, find me another example of that in salary cap history.
The Pierre Engvall, how's that going? The
1, 2.
The nerds out there will tell you that that's just the worst thing you can do is overpay the depth. Yeah. You can find depth, you can move depth, you need flexibility with your depth.
There's Oiler fans screaming at the radio, being like, "Oh, you guys are talking about Trent Frederick." They have given up the 3rd most goals in the league. They're ahead of the Maple Leafs. They've given up 73 goals this year, and they're 3rd worst in the league. Man. So they're like, Trent Frederick, that's where you want to start? It's like, they're like, we can't get it safe.
Issues, pals.
It's, where do you go?
Yeah.
Where do you look?
Well, I mean, Hyman helped. You're kind of thinking some of this is injury. They need RNH. Like, they need every piece of their elite guys to be elite. And when they don't have them, it slots guys wrong and it looks thin. I'll also say, last year they got Skinner and Arvidsson and people went, these guys aren't great. And then these guys weren't great. Didn't move the needle a ton in playoffs. And they're like, okay, this time we'll get Mangiapane, who's just being the next version of that. Curtis Lazar, like they haven't. changed essentially, but they lost a lot of that edge. They lost Perry and Brown and Kane and a lot of these guys that were a little bit more feisty. They're not as mean.
And proven NHLers.
Yes.
Like proven NHL.
But that's why
guys.
Frederick is so disappointed because
Yeah.
you're like, we need someone to be mean. Aren't you the mean guy? Didn't we pay you for the meanness?
And like they were touting that Isaac Howard, and he's now in Bakersfield, isn't he? Like it's
Corey Perry.
Yeah, the Perry thing hurts.
Corey Perry. How
probably should just pay Corey Perry.
how we thought maybe 6 years ago he was done.
It's crazy.
This guy just keeps
Keeps
reinventing
on
himself.
going.
It's crazy.
So we heard earlier today, Brad Treliving talking about his hockey club being without enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Who's got more than that guy?
Who loves it more than Corey Perry?
Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leafs have only
That's
had
the only answer.
7 separate chances to sign Corey Perry and have never done it. It's not like he ever wanted to be a Leaf, right, Kipper?
But you have to, he would have taken it for sure
Ugh.
5 or 6 years ago. Like he took it in
when they
Montreal,
could've
like he
used
took
it.
it in Edmonton, right?
Yeah.
Canada's been real good to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's prolonged his career.
Yeah.
But that's where Lou Lamoriello has always said it. Know what you have.
Mhm.
That's the key. Know what you have. And we know what we have with Steve Valiquette.
We sure do.
Eh?
Look at the card
Valley,
wall.
welcome aboard. Analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG and CEO of Clear Sight Analytics. How are you, my
OPG?
friend?
Are those OPG?
Happy. These are OPG original. These used to hang in my basement, Bourne, around the pool table. So definitely bringing back my teenage years here. And it's funny because I'm looking at this sheet. I've got Sean Burke, who I copied his style. Patrick Waz to my left. The only jersey I ever bought is over my left shoulder, Darren Pang, who you guys had on last week. And just below that is John Van Beesbrook, worst roommate I ever had.
Did you have to buy 2 pangs and sew them together to fit you?
Well, I was 12 when I was because it was Rock'em Sock'em Hockey, and there was a whole segment on Darren Pang glove saves, and I hope he remembers that because I do. I was about 12 years old.
Valley, we're going to get into a ton, including Jonathan Quick in that brawl that he started. But we were just coming off the Edmonton Oilers, and as difficult as a start as it's been for the Edmonton Oilers, they're still like squeezing everything that they can out of McDavid and Draisaitl. But like, what's going to be left out of them in the back half of the season, including a trip to the Olympics?
You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about scoring chances with time and space, specifically high danger scoring chances. And Edmonton's in the bottom 10 right now. Every year, the bottom 10 teams don't make the playoffs. So I know that the goalies take a lot of heat. And guys, the one thing I oftentimes remind people of is that Jack Campbell should still be there. He should be in year 4 of a 5-year, $25 million deal. Skinner just happens to be a backup goalie that's playing as a starter, and now in one of the hardest environments. It's very difficult to play there as a goalie when you can't read off of your teammates, because a goaltender is reading off of the positioning of his own players, and that determines the math that he's doing with where he gets to stand in his crease, whether he's challenging or he's going to have to back up. I learned this lesson when I played in the KHL. Played in the NHL, I get sent down, I clear waivers. My next trip is to Red Army, Seska, Russia. And I'm telling you guys, the first game that I'm in, I could see the play coming towards me off the rush, and I can read my back checker is going to cut the ice in half, and I get walked. And I'm saying to myself, how is that even possible? I saw my guy. I watched the video after the game, and that guy stopped skating at the blue line, and that allowed the player to cut across and score. I would have had a different depth. I stayed a little back because I knew there was a pass, but not somebody that was going to get across. That's what it's like playing for the Edmonton Oilers right now for Stu Skinner. Like, he's having a hard time on top of, to be fair, you know, he's not a true starter, but he's been pushed into that role. And now he's dealing with all of these difficult reads. Watch any game right now from them, and you can say that That's time and space. That's time and space. Go through the goals. And if it's more than a stick length, guys, you can give a shooter the ability to go north with the puck, south, east, west. If you have a stick length on them, or even two, and you can take away two of those four options, it becomes a very easy game to read for any goalie.
Yeah, it's been a challenge. I know Pickett's had a tough go this year. So the two of them trying to figure it out for the Edmonton Oilers. Toronto Maple Leafs got Joseph Woll back. He made his debut against the Chicago Blackhawks. Not sure if you had a chance to catch it, Valley.
I watched it.
Pretty good return.
I thought he looked terrific. And, you know, I heard your stat on going into third period with Woll and net. I think you said it was 32-0.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was the only part of the game I was nervous, Bourne, was the most pressure game state-wise that a goalie feels is up by a goal.
Yeah.
And specifically up by a goal going into the third period when you've got 18 minutes to think about it before you get back out there if you're trying to gain your confidence again. And that's what he's going through, right? He's trying to get his mental confidence back. So I thought going into that third period, I'm like, all right, how's he going to handle this? Now, the two goals that were scored, they weren't, I know that Teravainen's looks like high danger, but it was on one side of the ice and Woll went down early on it, which is why the move worked and it looked terrific. But typically that would be a save for him. And the deflection goal, I thought that was a really good deflection out of the air, bouncer. I was like, you know, that's one of those tip your caps. But I thought overall, I think I had him for 10 scoring chances, 3 high danger scoring chances. And I know there was 2 goals, but he, to me, looked really solid on all of his saves in the third period. So, you know, over the entire course of the game, I think the start was kind of hard for him too, because he gave up the first one. And that's, you know, where you're kind of fighting it a little bit. Or, excuse me, no, I got that wrong. They scored. They were ahead, right? No, I forget. But anyhow, the third period, I was impressed.
You're watching and listening to Steve Valiquette, analyst for the Rangers, CEO, Clearsight Analytics. So you mentioned Skinner is not a true starter. We heard from Brad Treliving today talking about Stolarz, where he may be in a similar feel in terms of, you know, where he is. He talked about him maybe being a little overwhelmed with the workload this year. But my question to you is, how does a team with predominantly the same guys on the blue line look so good last year blocking shots? And when they did get through, Stolarz was there to make the save. But now it just seems like those block shots are gone. And, you know, at times Stolarz got beat clean. But, like, how does it go from top in the league to bottom of the league so quickly?
You know, 2 years ago, I felt like I saw that happening with the Rangers. They were defending really well through the first couple months of the season. And then there was a narrative around the team that they weren't scoring at 5-on-5. And Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider even at the time, everybody was just kind of pushing a little more for offense and cheating on the wrong side of the puck. And everybody knows what that leads to. And I think that it's a tough narrative for the scorers to hear because they want to get their points, and I get it. They don't want to hear that you can't score at 5-on-5, and they know the reason why they're not scoring at 5-on-5 is because they're playing so responsible by a few more feet to defend, which is the right thing to do for the team. And I wonder when I watch the Leafs play and how loose they're playing and how they look a little too carefree for me and not winning pucks that you're expecting them to win. I'm watching the game. I'm like, guys, that's yours. Go for it. And they're not willing to do that. And I think that runs through the lineup so quickly. Your trust is either built or broken in the first 3 weeks of any season with your goalie, knowing where to stand in his crease, dependent on box out or fronting, or even playing a 2-on-1. Following the Rangers as closely as I do. 2 Saturdays ago, guys, they give up 3 2-on-1 goals to the Islanders and they get spanked at home 5-0. You know, but you have to realize that the next time Shesterkin plays, how do you think he's going to play the 2-on-1? He's going to back up because he doesn't trust his D is going to cover the pass. And unless those things are worked out beforehand through video and the coaching and your support, then you don't know what to believe in when the puck drops. And it's not the same for every goalie either. I remember the Leafs, when Frederik Andersen was there, the idea to play a 2-on-1 with him, guys, was to not allow the puck carrier to shoot it because he was getting killed low blocker. He wasn't very good on the shot. So they were pressing more and they allow the early pass. So it's not the same for everybody. It depends on your goalie's strengths. When I watch the Leafs right now, though, I feel there's something that's broken between Stolarz and the Team D. But I think that also reflects the Team D being cookie monsters a little bit.
Yeah, that bit of a theme that does make some sense. Valley, wanted to get your thoughts on something we've talked about a little bit this season. Shot attempts are down around the NHL, as you know. They're below 28 per year right now, or sorry, per team per game. Save percentage down to 897. Corsi was invented by Jim Corsi, as they, I believe, Buffalo Sabres goalie coach at the time, who wanted to measure a goalie's workload. He was saying it's not just shots on net that tire a goalie out. It's shot attempts. You're going down, you're moving, it's making you work. How does this affect goalies? As I assume their workload has gone down if there's less attempts, but more pucks are going in on average. What do you think about this shift in offense?
I think that it's difficult to play. So what I was looking at before we got on was, I spend my Tuesdays always going through what happened the previous week. It just works out well. Plus I get to share it with you guys. So the low east to west, that has gone in more than any other scoring chance, and they're happening more frequently. We talked about that last week. The second scoring type that's going in the most this year is the high east to west. So that's an east to west pass above the hash marks. The low east to west would be below the hash marks. That's how goals are being scored right now. You may think it's layered screens and it's net traffic and it's point shots, but that's a little further down the ledger. That's chance type number 4. Slot one-timers is chance number 3 that's going in the most. And screen deflections is chance type number 5. I was watching the Vancouver game the other night against Tampa Bay. They gave up 4 net front chances. So that would qualify for those layered screens and screen deflections and the broken plays that come off the point. So those are definitely there, but that's the second tier of scoring. The first tier of scoring in the NHL right now is the east to west. And I must add, breakaways are going in at a very high clip right now. There have been 97 breakaways that have been scored this year. Teams are getting more breakaways. And look, I was watching the Carolina game last night against Boston. Like, they're giving up the most rush chances in the league, but they're having the most fun. Like, they are gone. They lean in and have all 5 going on every turn of possession, but they're giving up the most breakaways. And I think that a lot of teams, there are quite a few teams that are giving up more off the rush than they typically do. And that's great through the regular season, but it's not going to get you through. You need to be a top 5 rush defense to win a Stanley Cup. And that's where I think Carolina is going to fail again this year.
No team gets the puck to the net more than Carolina. But is that, to your point, a turnover and then a rush up against you?
Yeah, they also take the most shots where the goalie has clear view, and when they miss the net, it just rims around the boards, and then it goes the other way. And I think that they, for the last 5 or 7 years, they've led the league in low danger shots that turn into high danger the other way. And that's where they hurt themselves, whether they're just going and then, get stuck, or one pass doesn't work and they get, beat up against them, or they're in zone and they're taking shot after shot trying to regain possession. But somewhere along that line, the dominoes fall against them and they're giving up a rush the other way.
Valley, no team can touch the Colorado Avalanche, or so it seems, to start the quarter of the season here. Their goal differential is plus 31. The next closest, I think, is half of that with Carolina. There's Pittsburgh and Chicago, probably around 12 and 10. I look at the East. No team in the black in the Atlantic Division. Boston leads with 0 differential, and everybody else
I saw that yesterday.
in the Atlantic is in the red.
Yeah.
Like, what does this mean?
It means that we need Derek Brandeo to give us a mid-drop. So Colorado is so far ahead of everybody right now, and they continue to stay far ahead of everybody. Those markers that I was talking about last week, guys, there's 8 of them. They have 6 where they're in the blue, top 5. And they're not just top 5 as in 4 or 5. They're number 1. They're number 2. The only place they were having difficulty 2 weeks ago, they've corrected it, was on their power play. They were taking too many clear-sighted shots from the perimeter. Even Cale Makar was a big offender, but it seems to me like he's cleaned it up because they've kind of turned the corner there and their power play is starting to click. So to me, they're the most dangerous team in the NHL. When I look at the teams that I think we can say are on their way out and don't have a shot, I'm looking at Vancouver, because they're 4 markers in the red minus. I'm looking at Philadelphia.
Mid.
There it is.
Great job. But, Boston, Columbus, and New Jersey are really good rush teams. And I wonder if Carolina gets one of those in the first round, if it's a tough matchup for them. And look, I was watched Boston last night. I do think that Swayman looks like he's all the way at least close to back to where he was too. I thought, he looked really sharp, and that's good for Boston. I know, what was it, 8 in a row that they won, fellas? I think it was 8 before they lost last night. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still thinking about some of this stuff and how it's been affecting the Leafs. I know we're not in our Leafs hour, so the last one on the Leafs, but they've allowed a league-leading 26 goals within 10 seconds of a turnover, trailing only the Edmonton Oilers 30 and St. Louis Blues. So they're, third in the league. So giving up a lot of goals off quick turnovers, quick strikes, is that something that goaltenders can be good or bad at? Is that something that affects you in any way, the play turning around that quick?
Yeah, definitely. You know what really affects you is getting your ice for a breakaway, because the element of surprise sometimes stuns the goalie and they don't take their ice. I think I've told you guys this story before, but I'll go back to it. This is
Sorry, Valley,
years ago.
take your ice. You mean coming out to back up with the play?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, which is going to tie into our Heat the Grill later on.
All right.
Okay? I've got some questions on goaltending for you guys. But this happened when Jacob Markstrom was in Vancouver. And I was going through the data, and he was the best save percentage goalie on breakaways at the time in the NHL, but he was the worst on partial breakaways. And partial breakaways are usually coming off of turnovers. So I was going through the video, and you could see it, Bourne. He would come out and grab a lot of ice, like as in 4 feet, if he could see and recognize early enough through the neutral zone that a breakaway was about to come. And then, conversely, a partial breakaway where somebody falls down, there's a breakdown, or your defenseman gets walked, he would just stay stationary in his crease and then get stuck and get deked. Or you could shoot around him because he hasn't come out to challenge it. It gives a much different look to the shooter when you come out and challenge, and you want to essentially take away the shot. If you talk to any goalie about what they want to accomplish on breakaways, we all know there's 2 options. It's a shot or a deke, but if you can come out far enough and at least let the shooter believe that the shot isn't an option and force deke, now I'm thinking as a goalie, okay, I'm forcing him to deke, and that's one way that I have to think, and that's how I'm going to play this. But, the answer is, it depends a lot on where you are reading off of your own teammates. Look, I've said this a lot over the years to the goalies that I work with, and it's like when they ask me about the NHL, I always say, guys, it's the easiest league to play in as far as reading off of your teammates. Comparing my time in the NHL to reading the play versus in the East Coast League, completely different conversation, right? And the difference with the NHL for a goalie is you're going to see 1% of the things you've never seen before. And that's where goals are scored. Like, I remember one of the first goals I gave up, Yager was to the left of me playing against Pittsburgh. I was with the Islanders, Bourne, and he's to the left of the post. He receives the puck on his backhand. He's a lefty. He brings it forehand, far corner, over my blocker. And I'm saying to myself, what the F was that? Like, what was that? I had no idea what that was. Yeah. And I look up to see who it was, and he takes his glove off and he does the salute, because it was the year that he used to do that. It was like 99, 2000. And funny enough, I got chirped all summer from my buddies back home, because at that time, the advertisement on the commercial was the coolest game on earth. And the end of the commercial was Yager saluting with me on one knee.
Oh.
Of course.
Sad face. That's great.
Hey, Valley, speaking of 1% of the things that we've never seen before, a bench clearing brawl at the end of the game in modern day NHL. Jonathan Quick. What were you thinking when you saw it?
Okay, so Quick, this guy, I've known him since he was a teenager. He actually lives local. I'm in Milford, Connecticut. He's born and raised in Hamden, Connecticut. So I've known this guy. He is an amazing competitor. I don't have to tell you guys that, but if you know him, he is a gentleman off the ice. Like the nicest civilian, and then puts the helmet on and becomes somebody else. And those, to me, are the best goalies. And he's so competitive that he follows the old school rules that we all agreed upon once upon a time, and he wants to enforce them. But he also wants to send a team that's 1-7-1 at home, his team, a message. Like, we're not going down like this. Like, this is not allowable in our rink. And whether it was real or manufactured, right, he wanted something to happen here. He wanted something to happen here. Now you can see Panarin and Zibanejad skate by, and he is hot. He wanted somebody to answer for it, so he answered for it. And you know what? Everyone jumped in. Everybody backed him up. And funny enough that it's Mason Appleton, guys, that shoots it, because a good friend of mine works with him on the skills side. And he was telling me that Mason Appleton, he told me this summer how competitive he is. And he was telling me a story about how he's at a wedding this summer, and he like takes his shirt off because there was a basketball hoop there. And like 2 seconds later, they're in a fist fight playing basketball, right, with his shirt off. And they're at a wedding. So you take a guy like Mason, who is that type of a competitor, which is why he's in the NHL. And I'm sure he takes the dagger a little bit. He probably knows he does know what he's doing, because he's also that type of competitor. You know, guys, I did a Chase Bank marketing alumni appearance with John Starks last week. And John Starks is known for the New York Knicks, but his known was, Kyper, you remember his jump over Jordan?
Oh, yeah.
So he posterized Jordan. And so we're talking, and we've done a few of these together, and we were talking about The Last Dance. You know, Michael Jordan talking about how he would make stories up about how that guy said something to me, and I heard what he said, and then I went out and dropped 50 on him in the same quarter after he had 55 in a game. And there's a motivation there that comes from manufacturing it during a season. And I'm just saying that Quick understands that, and he was trying to, whether it was real or imagined, manufacture something to bring everybody up a level.
Valley, we heard from General Manager Brad Treliving today, and he spoke about the Leafs, and one of the concerns, he's got many that are keeping him up at night, but one of the concerns is the lack of enthusiasm.
Not a lot of, and
right.
I took that
Right?
personally.
And now you just showed us, and we just saw the viz for those of you watching at home, and the gap between that enthusiasm from Quick and then Zibanejad and Panarin, who just, is the gap from teammate to teammate on that sort of stuff widen a lot in the last few years?
Well, like Kyper, look at how the league's changed over the last 20 years. And a lot of that is the personality of the different countries that we were raised in and where we played our hockey. We're different. We're very different. The Western Canadian kids that I played with were much different than the Toronto kids or the Scarborough kids.
Oh, Westerners were nuts.
I know.
We were Ontario. We were like, we felt like we were kind of calm. The Westerners were like, oh, it's going to be a rodeo.
And Kyper, I don't know how you felt, but I felt like they were really nice and quiet until we went out for beer. And all of a sudden, they just went like straight animal. And I'm like, oh my God, where'd this come from?
This is the way we do it out west. And I'm like, oh my God.
So you look at that, and I oftentimes do, and you have different personalities from different countries. I don't expect Mika Zibanejad, who was raised in Sweden, to behave like I do. And I'm from Bolton, Ontario, 10,000 population when I was growing up. It's just not the same thing. So we're trying to create that culture and say, these are our rules, but I just think that you want to manufacture it. I found out when I was playing for the Erie Otters, we were down 3-0 against the London Knights. And there was this tough guy, I think his name was Mike Mazuka, and he was at the red line just chirping me, Kyper, just giving it to me. And I kind of liked it because it was like firing me up. We were down 3-0. We won that game. Next game does the same thing. I fed off it. And we pushed it to 7 games. We ended up losing 2-1 in game 7, but I felt like manufacturing that, and sometimes you get help from somebody on the other team to make that happen. I had to go there. It's not for everybody, but I had to be pissed off. I liked playing pissed off.
Where you get in trouble is when you fake sincerity.
What are you getting at right now?
No, that some guys try to do it and they're not really that good at it. And
Yeah.
that's when you really get in trouble as a teammate.
Right. You gotta
Right?
find
Well,
When you bluff it.
yeah. I mean, I know as far as deal cutters and that type of stuff for sure.
Correct.
There was a time when I remember there was a time in the American League where guys were setting up their fights before we were even getting into the next city. That was a weird time. We're
Junior
past
hockey
that.
used to be assigned in our dressing room. Hey, you're fighting so and so this period. We should probably plug in the George Foreman here.
Yeah, we got to fire up the
based
grill.
on the time, I think.
Oh yeah.
fire.
All right.
Okay, hold on. Do we have a standings?
Yes, I'm so organized this week. Check it out. I'm all organized.
Oh.
All right. All right. So Kyper,
Yes.
15 points. McKee, 11. Bourne, 9.
Ouchie.
Ooh, you got to come back here.
Work to do.
All right, now this one's I'm gonna either have my feelings hurt or I'm gonna be very proud of you guys. I've been with you guys for 5 years. I've talked a lot of goaltending. There are certain rules in goaltending that I've covered on this show before, and I want to see who's been paying attention. All right. A goaltender in his stance at the top of the crease, and the shot's coming off of the left face-off dot. How wide is the opening to the net? Now, we know the opening to the net in the middle of the ice is 6 feet wide, but off the dot, if the goalie's at the top of the crease, how much does he really have to move? Is the opening 3 feet? Is it 3.5 feet or 4 feet?
God, I feel pressure here.
I think it's
I got
3.5.
I got 3.
I think it's 3.
3.5.
Oh,
Hey, McKee, you needed
go.
that. You needed that. All right.
Go.
Next one. On a clean breakaway. So this is what I was referring to earlier. When should a goalie start backing up? Is it when the puck carrier crosses the blue line, when he's 15 feet over the blue line, or when he crosses the top of the circles?
I'm going to go ahead and say 15 feet. I know you're supposed to take the ice when they cross the blue. Read the play, something like that. So start backing up. I'm going to say 15 feet.
I'm Googling Mike Richter and Pavel Bure right now. Hold on. I got to take a look.
I'm going blue
You'd be
line.
able to figure it out if you did that.
You
I'm
know
going
what?
blue line.
No, I'm going to go top of circles. I'm changing my answer to top of circles.
Whoa.
I'm going to go blue line.
Top of circles.
Yes.
Top of circles.
Back, baby.
Wow. Big one for Bourne.
All right. And you know who did it really well last night was Swayman. Swayman, he did it twice. 2 really nice breakaway saves in that game. Lefty coming down the left side. Now, this is about dragging the puck. We oftentimes talk about how when you drag the puck towards the middle, you're essentially opening up the net a few more inches. So for every blank, for every how many inches is the puck dragged towards the middle of the ice, does the available net open by 1 inch? Is it every 2 inches the puck is dragged, opens the net an inch? Is it every 3 inches or is it every 4 inches?
This is awesome stuff.
I think it's 4 inches.
Yeah, I go 4. I think it's the most.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
It's-
I just got
It's a wide rink.
I'll take 3 just because I'm chasing the game here.
4 inches.
Dang. Killed myself too.
I think it's fine. Not bad for a guy who thinks they should replace goalie with a piece of plywood.
I know. You know why I did that, McKee? Because that really hurt my feelings.
know.
You guys know I'm listening to you.
I'm
That
sorry.
sincerely hurt my
I'm
feelings.
sorry, Valley. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're the only goalie I truly love.
Oh, thank you.
Was that the last one?
That was the third one, boys.
So I got
that was a
killed.
bonus
I
one
know,
then.
I missed that one
Yeah.
too.
That was huge. Hey, when
Yeah,
are you
that
going
was
to get
3 points.
your butt up here so we can go to a steakhouse? Which one are we picking?
Well,
One that
we're
sponsors
working,
us.
on
Jacobs.
we're working on a few deals, guys.
Yeah,
We're working
there's
on
a
it.
few
We're
irons in
working
the
on it.
fire here. A few options
Buddy.
to pick from.
Just mail us
Highest bidder.
mail us Ponderosa coupons while you're at it.
I
Golden
got you.
Corral
All
for
right,
the
I gotta
boys.
get the train and get to New York City.
Great stuff as always, pal. Thanks for doing
All right.
this.
See you, boys.
Thanks, Valley. Have a good one.
Valley on Tuesdays is gold.
Great regret about my last answer.
That pulling he's unbelievable. His Bedard's toe drag is absurd. The amount of distance he changes it from the one side to the other,
He's new
it's
Matthew.
out of control.
And then what he gets on it.
He's actually a combination of Matthews and Marner.
That's high praise.
He is.
Yeah.
He skates and he can pass and he can and then he
Yeah, he's
shoots
next
it
level
like
stuff right now. Game time.
It's game time.
Somebody's rushing me over there. Derek. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. I was going to try to figure out here who is favored to win the Atlantic Division, and I'm looking at it right now. Who do you think is favored to win the Atlantic Division? Because we were talking about this at the end of our first block about how it's such a poo-poo platter. We talked about it a little bit with Valley there. Who do you think the favorite is?
Tampa Bay?
It is. Tampa Bay is the favorite at plus 210. Florida next at plus 280. Montreal third, plus 450. Ottawa plus 525. Not bad value there on the Sens. Then it's the Leafs at plus 850. Ouchie. Red Wings, Bruins 25-1.
Bruins currently leading the division.
Sabres 80-1. So that's what Bet365 thinks of our conversation.
Well,
I think that's probably right.
Yeah,
honestly,
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Looking at the other divisions, all pretty, Colorado's minus 225 to win the Central. Dallas plus 275, and then it goes all the way down to plus 1,400 for the Jets. The Carolina Hurricanes are big faves in the Metro, minus 120. Devils there at plus 175. And then the Pacific Division's a little bit more interesting. Bet365 has Vegas as the favorites at plus 150.
Wow.
LA Kings plus 250.
Ooh, what do I get on the Oilers?
Oilers are plus 300 right now. Ducks plus 550, and then it just crashes off a cliff. Seattle Kraken plus 3,300 is the next favorite, according to Bet365. So interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
And quickly, just going to look at the games tonight on the ice. Just wanted to have a quick look at the Leafs line. Minus 105 for the Blues, minus 115 for the Leafs. So the Leafs are now basically even money against one of the worst teams in the league. So tells you a lot about.
They are one of the worst teams.
Yeah, you may be right. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
All right, we'll take a quick break here. As Sammy alluded to, 8 games on tap. We'll get into that, including the Canucks road trip ending with a defensive disaster.
David Camp was great last night, I heard.
That and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. As a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee.
Justin.
Yes, my turn.
You
want me to lead?
No, you put out a tweet today that got the people going. It's provocative.
Gets the people going.
It's provocative.
The Oilers not even close to good enough. Last place lost to Sabres.
Spec was not pulling any punches.
We're going to reward Evan Bouchard with a trip to Italy for the Olympics.
So here, I won't read the tweet verbatim, but I basically said, all right, I've had enough of the whole debate. I've put in a lot of thought. He should be on Team Canada. Now,
you just love the offense.
Let me back up some of the points here. You're allowed to take 7D to the Four Nations face-offs. You can take 8 to the Olympics. So
you've already named your 7?
So last year, the 8 they actually took 8 because remember there's an injury and Harley went.
Yeah.
So the 8 they had were Makar, Morrissey, Parayko, Doughty, Theodore, Taves, Harley, and Travis Sanheim.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 8D, and you're all set right there. Mm-hmm. So for me, Travis Sanheim has a goal and 5 assists. He's negative in terms of driving play for Philadelphia. And I don't know, like he's not like a massive needle mover. Like what's this game state where you're like, get Travis Sanheim out there? There's not a ton for me. But there are situations where you'd be like, get Evan Bouchard out there. Mm-hmm. And if you had a hockey team and I were to offer you players and say you can pick between this guy or that guy, the available D to add someone, let's say you're taking someone out. Maybe Doughty's hurt. Maybe Sanheim comes out. If you're adding a D, the next options are Noah Dobson, Matthew Schaefer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll hear that argument, but we mentioned the other day, there's some defensive warts still. He's a kid.
And there's still plenty of hockey to go here.
But I think he's not, like this guy, continue.
Okay, Mackenzie Weegar, having a not great year in Calgary. Mike Matheson in Montreal. No. Morgan Riley. Brandon Montour in Seattle. I'll hear Montour.
Yeah,
I still want Evan Bouchard over Montour.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm
And
not sure.
I'm open to Montour.
Yeah, Montour, and he has been focused from day one on this.
I know.
He's and Seattle's. Take a look at what Seattle's done.
But it's possible that your Doughty's out week to week right now.
Yeah.
You know, Colton Parayko hasn't exactly set the world on fire this year where you're like, gotta have Colton Parayko. Evan Bouchard in playoffs, in regular season, his points per game are 0.69. In the playoffs against top teams, 1.08.
Oh, he could shoot it
over
in the
a
net.
point per game against Dallas, Vegas, big minute muncher in the postseason.
Well, there has to be some reason he's making 10.5 sheets.
For sure. And so I just don't think it's absurd to be like,
Not absurd. I give you that.
to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll take him over any of these.
And you live with, well, maybe you should have turned left there.
But I won't live with that in these games.
But have you watched Travis Sanheim? Do you know if he turns the puck over? I bet he does.
But Travis Sanheim isn't in my top 6.
Does Noah Dobson turn it over?
I'm not. But these guys aren't in
I'm
my
not
top
saying
6.
he's going to be your top 6.
Yeah.
I'm taking 8 guys.
But if I'm taking 8 guys, sure, you can take him as one of the guys and Schaefer's the other guy. And those guys can have great views from the stands for the gold medal game.
If you get shut out by the Americans in the first game and you can't crack
And you need
the
offense.
Czech Republic, you're going, maybe we got to put a puck mover in, boys. We can't get her going here.
But you don't think Cale McCarr and Josh Morrissey and Shea Theodore and Drew Doughty and Thomas Harley are going to be able to move the puck?
You're talking yourself out of taking the most effective players because McCarr missed the last tournament with an injury.
He played.
Who was it that got hurt? Was it not McCarr?
He did.
Theodore
missed.
And Theodore got hurt. And
Theodore.
McCarr missed a game too. The game against
Yes.
the Americans he missed.
But like it happens, and all of a sudden you're going,
Listen,
Mitch Marner's PP1 point if you don't have McCarr.
you've got a case.
Josh Morrissey
no,
can't
you
step
talk-
in there
you
and
talked
snap it
me
around.
into,
And not as well as Evan Bouchard can.
you've talked me into, I'll think about it.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
I know Chris Pronger didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was
What would he know?
Yeah.
yeah, a lot. If we had Chris Pronger, I'd
Most
put him on
definitely
8 times.
not your top 4.
No.
Okay.
And you would put him with your best defensive guy. And I don't know.
So, like,
I don't think it's that
but-
far out there.
He's not. So to be clear,
Yes.
the 6 guys for me
Yeah.
is McCarr Taves is your top pairing.
Okay.
Theodore Morrissey,
Theodore Morrissey,
Harley Doughty.
Harley Doughty.
Who are
Yeah.
both Harley and Doughty are both hurt right now.
So you have
That's my 6.
no Parayko, no Sanheim.
Correct.
in
And
your
I actually thought Parayko was pretty good at the Four Nations.
I
but
thought
the
he was
Blue-
good.
but
He
the Blues
surprised me.
the Blues have been dreadful, and I don't know if you can. Like, the scary thing is that Robert Thomas is also plays for the Blues, and Parayko plays for the Blues, and Doug Armstrong's putting this team together. He's the guy that. So, but that for me is an easy 6. And then sure, if you want to take, I would even rather take Bouchard and or Parayko and Schaefer or somebody like Bouchard being involved in a big game against like the States or something is a horrifying thought to me. I have to be honest with you.
I don't love it, pal.
I don't love it.
But we're doing the same thing with goalies where you go, you're taking the best ones. You don't get to pick guys who you don't have.
No Pietrangelo sucks.
No Pietrangelo
He was one of our
sucks
guys.
bad.
He was one of our guys.
Yes.
He was one of our guys.
Vegas thinks it sucks too, right?
Yeah, they're not.
Sure.
They haven't been great.
They haven't been great, but
They've lost
but
6
they're-
times in
they're-
overtime this year.
It's not.
What?
It's not looking as ugly as some other teams are with their losses.
No, I mean, I don't have any doubt that they'll be there, but they can't. They also can't get a save.
They'll get Stone back. Carlson too.
Kira Schmid isn't exactly
They're
been excellent.
gonna Carter Hart's.
Yeah.
Where's Carter Hart and all of this,
Saw
guys?
him on the
Come
ice.
March, April.
Oh, I don't know.
Top goalie.
Logan Thompson's your starting goalie.
Yeah.
Kemper's your backup and Binnington's coming.
Yeah, I think Bennington is involved.
Yeah.
For sure. We'll get a good look at him tonight.
Carter Hart do for the Henderson Silver Knights the other day. Do you think Hockey Canada would bring Carter Hart after all this? Tough to see.
No, I don't think that's happening.
No, it's not enough time.
No,
Yeah.
Not enough time. All right, we know that we did the Leaf Hour edition of our show, but one of 8 games tonight, right?
Mhm.
St. Louis and Toronto. Is this like a kind of fork in the road game? Probably more so for, I want to say St. Louis than even Toronto, because we heard from Brad Treliving today. Nothing earth shattering is coming, but I get the sense that Doug Armstrong isn't going to be as patient with his club as maybe he was even last year on maybe selling a few pieces.
You know what's really strange about the Blues is like Jim Montgomery, I think, is one of the better coaches in the league. truly believe in what
I really liked what he did last year.
Yeah, truly believe in what he does. And Dylan Holloway, Robert Thomas, Jimmy Snuggerud, pretty darn good. Shen, Dvorsky, Kyrou, a lot to like there. Buchnevich, Suter, Joseph. I'm just saying, you can go through this team and be like, Broberg, Parayko, Fowler, Falk. Like, that's a pretty good club. Not sure what's happening that's made them so dreadful. Maybe of the two teams, Toronto and St. Louis, maybe they're the team that needs to just pump the brakes for a second, let things iron out.
Maybe they could do a coaching trade. Take Berube back, and then
doesn't that happen in some sport? No, you can.
You know the fascinating one. Oilers at least should do a coach trade. Knobloch for Berube straight up. Maybe you have to throw in a third.
But he would ruin our show. Our show would be sunk if we had to do coaches clips from Knobloch.
It's true.
Great, thoughtful man. Not a dynamic speaker.
No.
Granted, we're getting through on Chief, and he's not exactly electric either.
They should be able to trade anything. A bus.
I think in the
trainers.
NFL, you can trade for
it
a
happened
coach.
Back in the day. I don't know how long ago this was now, but the Clippers traded for Doc Rivers. They traded a first-round pick for Doc Rivers. Like, you can trade for a coach, I think.
I bet you can in the NHL.
No, I don't think so.
Would they 2028 first for John Cooper?
Oh, God.
Let's go.
But if they don't get some saves, you can get them for free maybe in a year.
Vancouver gave up a touchdown to the 2-point conversion last night.
Yeah.
That wasn't awesome.
And they scored 5 goals on like 15 shots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not ideal.
How'd our new buddy David Kampf?
Old buddy.
Still new Vancouver buddy.
Oh, I don't think he was very good.
-3 in 16 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, not very good.
Hey, there's
It's
a lot
hard.
to be desired.
Give
there.
him a break.
Yeah.
He just got there. His head's spinning.
We know the one thing he can do is play well defensively, so that is unusual. But the Canucks boy.
They're a little pressed too, right?
Yeah, there was a great tweet, and I don't have it in front of me, but right now.
That's where the NHL sucks in terms of this team's dying find a centerman, a quality centerman, and it's just too hard. That the best you can do is Kempf. And we talk about the kid from Boston went on waivers yesterday, Beecher.
Yeah.
Right? 6'3", can skate. Teams are so desperate. Calgary claimed him.
I'm shocked they couldn't trade that guy. It sounds like every team wanted to claim him.
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
The Beecher
But like
sweepstakes.
you're just grasping, right?
But my Canucks thing here, right now they're 9-10-2. And last year they missed playoffs. Last year they were 17-10-2 at one point and lost. And missed playoffs. So like it's getting late early for the Canucks here. Curious to see how aggressive they get.
It's clear that this is not a team much like Toronto that their fan base want to hear rebuild or
Their
but
fan
more
base.
than this, Hughes went into this year saying, let's see if it's a fun year. I want it to be a fun
Is
year.
he having fun?
Let's have a great time. Let's see how it goes. And if things are good, we'll see. Things are not fun.
What I gathered from Canucks fans, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think they love a rebuild.
I think
Honestly,
so too. They're
like-
saying, give us credit as intelligent
Yes,
fans. We know
like-
this isn't it.
As opposed to grinding for the 8th playoff spot to get a couple home dates.
Like that's the thing in Calgary that's happening right now too. It's like we're really going to walk guys to free agency, stick with guys as they age and get worse when we could get something for them. John Beecher's not the flame solution.
Got to start somewhere.
Beecher doesn't hurt.
The Beecher boys.
I don't think we get to use that name.
8 games on tap. Find yours. And then join us again tomorrow as we do it all over again on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Wherever you're watching, listening, we appreciate the support. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. Our thanks to Steve Valiquette. And do we have anybody in the first hour?
Jeremy Rutherford.
Jeremy. Thank you.
Yep.
See, my head was on the DVP now.
Sorry.
No, you made a great comeback, buddy.
You're good.
We made
Appreciate the effort. Have a great night, everybody. And we're back tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.